Hey y'all, this is Maker-Wright. I want to talk to you about care of the 97 shotgun, preventative maintenance and that kind of thing on the 97 shotgun. First thing I want to talk about, a lot of people don't think about, and this pertains especially to cowboy action shooters, people who use their 97s in competition. Your 97 shotgun will benefit greatly by being covered in some kind of a gun sleeve when you're not shooting it. And any airborne grit or dirt that comes along, and it doesn't even have to be windy, if you're in a dusty environment and people just walking by or rolling their gun carts by can get a lot of stuff loaded up into your 97. So what I recommend is like a tightly woven canvas cover like this. It will allow some vapor to escape, but also it will keep that dust and dirt at bay that's blown by the wind. So I really recommend doing this. If you do this, really help keep your 97 in better shape. On to the thinking about what we're going to do to oil the 97, to lubricate the 97. And something we need to keep in mind is the 97 has an awful lot of parts. And even for people who are pretty experienced with it, it can still really be a puzzle. And for that reason, the vast majority of people who own 97s very rarely, if ever, will do an all-out teardown and take everything down to really clean the 97 out inside and out really well. So with that in mind, what we want to do is we want to reach some kind of an equilibrium with the gun where after use, we're wiping the surfaces off to get that contaminated oil with the little metal particles and dust and anything that's accumulated, wipe that off and reapply lubricant so that lubricant can get in there and lubricate the way it's supposed to, and also suspend those particles of dirt and grit and carry them out to places where we can wipe them off again. I really like to use some kind of a CLP. CLP being cleaner lubricant preservative. I use break-free CLP. Cleans Oil CLP is also very good. After I get done using my gun, come home from the range, what I like to do, and you notice I'm starting with an empty gun here, nothing in the magazine tube, nothing in the receiver on the carrier, it's completely empty. I like to take some patches and Q-tips, and without taking anything on the gun apart, wipe everything that I can get to out with the patches. I'll take the Q-tips and I'll run them up in the channel here on the left side of the carrier. When I get everything that I can see cleaned out that way, close the action a little bit so I can clean underneath the bolt in here. Clean everything out as well as you can without taking anything apart. Once I get it all wiped down to where I've removed everything I can from the outside, then I'll go ahead and start to oil. When I oil, I've got this is a bottle of CLP here, and it's got a little dropper tube on it. And I'm not even putting, the friction points I'm placing this on, I'm not even putting a whole drop. What I'm doing is I'm just letting a little globule form on the end of the dropper, and then I'm basically wiping it on the friction point. So first I'm going to start on the left side here on the carrier with the action open. I'm just going to wipe a little bit right here on the nose. This is the part that rubs against your shell stops here on the inside of the frame. This is your slide lock. I'm going to just put a little smear on that. Then in this track, this is what actuates your carrier up and down by the little prong on the end of your slide. So I'm going to put a little drop there on the top of that slide, there on the bottom of that groove, just like that. Okay, now I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to do the same thing over here on this side of the carrier. Put a little smear here. This is for your right side shell stop inside the receiver here. Now, down inside to the left side of your receiver, there is a groove here. That's what your bolt travels in. That's what your bolt slides in. Once again, I'm just going to put a little globule on the bottom of that ledge of that groove and on the top ledge of that groove. Then I'm going to close the action a little bit. And to lubricate the right side, I'm going to just smear a drop across here and across here. That's going to lubricate the plunger for your right extractor as well as your bolt where it travels in the action. Opening it back up, I'm going to drag a drop right here on the left side down where the slide hook is attached to the bolt. Just about a half a drop there. After all that, I'm going to close the action. The last place to oil, just going to put a little tiny bit of a globule right here on the face of the hammer. That's going to lubricate the hammer. where it rubs on the bottom of the bolt. Pretty much all the oil I put on is going to be on the front part of the components towards the receiver. That way, when it's sitting in your gun cart or sitting in your gun safe, that oil is going to migrate down, and we didn't put enough oil on to really saturate anything. The reason I try to put all the oil up here to let it migrate down is you don't want the oil to soak into your stock and make your stock spongy and ruin your stock. So we want to keep how much oil we put on there at bay, keep it up here so it'll migrate down. The question is, what about the slide? I would not ever put oil or grease on the slide because that is so much exposed area. It's going to really attract the dust and the grit, and it's going to get caught up underneath the slide handle where you can't get to it, and it's just going to be a gritty mess. So what I use is this stuff here, Ezox. You can buy this on Amazon, and if you use a drop is too much. I'm just going to put enough on this to just discolor that patch like that. And what I'm going to do is just go ahead and cover the exposed parts of the slide. Go ahead and open the action. Do the front part. Like that. Then I'm actually going to come in and wipe off anything that looks really glossy, like there's a big buildup on there, and that's all I'm going to do. That's all I'm going to put on the slide, and that's plenty. 7 is a good idea to check the tightness of the screws. If you have a takedown 97 like this one that has the takedown joint, you're going to want to count to 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, open the action, 15, 16. If you have a solid frame 97, you're going to want to count to 12. 1, 2, 3, 4. There should be a screw here. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Open the action. 11, and there should be a screw here. 12. One screw that you may see on the 97 that you do not want to mess with is in the bottom of the carrier. This is the carrier right here, and I've got a loose carrier out of a 97. If you look down inside here, it's too hard to get on camera, but down inside at the front of the carrier on the top, you will see a screw here. That increases or decreases the tension on your mainspring. Unless you're having light strikes on your cartridges, don't mess with that. Most 97s have more than enough mainspring strength to where, and some people will see that screw and think, oh, it's a screw, it needs to be tightened down. If you do that, then the gun will be really stiff and hard to work. So unless you're having light hits, don't mess with that screw that's on top of the carrier. And I know some of you now are going to adjust that screw in and out, trying to make your gun work lighter. If you adjust that screw out far enough, trying to reduce your mainspring tension, what will happen is that screw is right here at the front of the carrier, and if you screw it out far enough, it will hit the bottom of the bolt, and it won't allow your gun to go fully into battery. It won't allow your slide lock to lock up, and the gun won't work. There are 3 points of failure on a 97 shotgun that it's really a good idea to check out when we're doing a periodic maintenance on it. That first point of failure, really easy. Here on the left side of the receiver, it screws on from the outside here. This is the ejector spring. What we want to do is that ejector spring is a little piece of sheet metal that has a leg that's folded, and it goes through this hole into the receiver. Down inside the receiver, that little piece of sheet metal will come through here, and you should see that little tip of that ejector there. If you don't see that tip, it's broken off, and you're going to need a new ejector spring. So that's one point of failure. The next one, and this is pretty easy to check also, is your slide hook screw right here. This screw right here on the right side of the bolt at the front. So just take it out. And what will happen with these is this front portion, the unthreaded portion, will usually break off right where it meets the threads. So if you pull this out and this smooth portion's gone, it's probably still stuck down in the bolt. A lot of times you can just tip the gun up and wiggle it and it'll fall that will fall out. But it's a good idea to pull this out, check it, make sure it's still intact, and then just without opening the action or disturbing anything, just put it right back in. Okay, and the third point of failure is your left extractor. With the action open, right here on the left side of the bolt is your left extractor. You should be able to push down on that and feel some spring tension. If you push down on it and try to move it left or right, if it flops around in there like a loose tooth, then your tail is broken off. And most of you will have a left extractor. This gun doesn't have it, but most of you will have a left extractor with a tail that extends in this groove on the left side of the bolt. So if you see this is open, most of you, if this is open, your tail is broken off and you need a left extractor. All right, hopefully this has been helpful, and hopefully I'll see you on the range again soon.